Hey everybody, I'm JJ, you're watching Reality Survival, and today I'm going to answer a viewer's question. I think this was Rose Ivory 8496. So she says, if America were to be invaded by another country such as China, would the situation here look much like what Ukraine is going through right now? Is this the first time in a long while that two very large, modern, and advanced militaries have fought directly and not just by proxy? Thanks for your interest. So let me answer this first one. The second one, I'm not sure how applicable that is, but let's go with the first one here. So what would happen if China attempted to attack the United States? So first off, China has the capability, and this is all open source information. There's nothing sensitive, obviously, or anything like that. China has the ability, and I'll put a link down in the description below that talks about much of the stuff that I'm gonna cover right here. China has the ability to conduct nuclear attacks. We know that they have roughly. Seems like the last thing I remember seeing was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to maybe 120 or 30 missiles, ICBM capable missiles, and they're attempting to make that higher. They're investing in adding to that and that kind of thing to come on to parity, with us over the next 30 or 40 years or something like that. It's a long timeline. So that is a possibility. Although not a very good possibility because, again, they only have about 100 missiles, whereas we have, well over 100 or 1,500, I think. Something like that was the last number that I remember seeing. And that doesn't even count the missiles that are in storage and stuff. So it would be problematic for them to try to attack us with nuclear weapons because they know that the response would be, very, very bad. And it's the whole concept of mutually assured destruction. So what about if they tried to attack us like an invasion, like in Ukraine, like you mentioned? So that is essentially very, very difficult for them to do. And the reason I say that is because although their Navy is by number the largest Navy in the world, it's because they ramp up the numbers by having a lot of very small ships. And those small ships, because that's really all they're capable of producing militarily, they have refitted, I think, 2 aircraft carriers now. But they're old, if I remember correctly, they're old Russian aircraft carriers that have been refitted and re-outfitted, rebuilt, so to speak. And they may have a couple of smaller, helipad or small kind of aircraft carriers as well. But they really don't have any open water or blue water capability. And what I mean by that is they can't actually project their power more than about 500 to maybe 1,000 miles. So what they have to do is they have to establish small little bases on different islands and stuff in the South China Sea to be able to push their power out a little bit further so that they can refuel in port and things like that. So they don't have power projection from their Navy. It just doesn't exist yet. Now they're adding money in their budget and they're trying to become a more formidable adversary, but they're just not there. With their Air Force, they also don't have the ability to project power. Now, most of their investment for the PLA is all in defensive in nature and being able to defend the homeland from attack and all that, because they have bases in and around their country close to their area where their planes could refuel, for logistics purposes and be able to stay engaged in the fight. However, they don't have an offensive capability of pushing their power projection out past, their zone of influence, basically, right around their country. They have a small number. It was hard to find an exact number of refuelers, but it's really only a handful. I don't know exactly what the number is, but we're talking 5 to 10 refuelers that they purchased from Ukraine. I think they were like called IL-57s or IL-572s or something along those lines. And so you can imagine the quality and the shape that those are in. And even let's say if it was 10, or even give them benefit of the doubt, let's say it's 25. Let's say it's more than what we think. That is not a significant enough number of refueling aircraft to be able to move. I think, what do they have? Like something around the neighborhood of 2,700 fighter aircraft. That the numbers don't work out there in being able to move their entire military all the way across, or their Air Force, all the way across the Pacific Ocean to be able to get here to cause damage, to engage in a fight with us. So they just don't have that power projection. So it's not a very realistic thing. Now, the other potential scenario, and one of the things that some people might bring up is that they have recently conscripted their cargo ships to be used for the Navy in times of conflict, and that's true. I mean, I think pretty much all countries do that to some extent or another. But it isn't really a big threat to anybody, because there's no defenses on those ships, right? So they might be able to be used inside the zone where they have aerial dominance and naval dominance. So close to the South China Sea, close around to their country, they could use those ships for transports and to do things and all that kind of stuff. But the moment they push those ships out beyond the ring of their influence and their dominance, they're now literally target practice for any aircraft, any submarine, or any naval vessel that the United States has, which are all capable of projecting force across the world. So it isn't a hard thing to disable those ships and or sink them completely. So the idea that China could facilitate or could invade the United States, it's not a real threat at this time. Now, maybe 25 years from now it might be, if their economy doesn't collapse because of their demographic issues, but it's not a current threat at all. Even from now until at least another 10 years, they don't have the capability to be able to launch any sort of an attack on the United States mainland with any degree. They might be able to muster a small attack on Hawaii or Guam or something like that. It's a little closer to their area, but it would be limited in scope, and it wouldn't be very significant, and it would be fairly easy to repel. So I don't think that the concern about China invading us is one that you need to worry about. It's certainly not something that I worry about. It definitely doesn't cause me any loss of sleep or anything like that. And as far as the next question, I'm not 100% sure that I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm going to read it again. It says, "Is this the first time in a long while that two very large and modern advanced militaries have fought directly and not just by proxy?" So if you're talking about Ukraine and Russia, then yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Russia and the United States, we're not engaged in a direct conflict with them, nor will we probably be. And if we did, it would be really, really bad news for Russia. They don't want that at all. I could tell you that the United States Air Force could probably send over 10 or 12 F-22s and a handful of F-15s maybe, and they would establish aerial dominance immediately. It wouldn't. There wouldn't be any contest in that regard, and that would be in any theater at any point, any place on the planet. There's no place where we couldn't do that. So, and the idea that Russia would be able to muster some sort of naval forces to be able to transport its troops and all that kind of stuff is also just not. It's not realistic. They can't even project force into Ukraine, into Kiev. At this point, they can attack it, but they can't project force into it. They can't control space. They can't, they don't have any dominance. So the idea that either Russia or China could attack the United States at their current state of the military is just not realistic. They could attack us with nukes. That's a possibility, but they're not able to invade. They're not able to do that. And while we're on the topic of this, a lot of people have asked this question in the past, well, what about the UN? Well, the UN can't either. The UN only has 87,000 troops total, and almost all of those troops are from very poor countries that literally have to transport their troops by commercial airline and commercial, sea travel. They don't have military capabilities to conduct any sort of invasion. They couldn't. To get here, they would literally have to buy commercial airline tickets just to get here. So they're not going to be able to conduct any sort of standing, invasion or peacetime war mission or anything like that. It's just silly and quite ridiculous to think that they could even do so. So that is that. Hopefully that answers your question. If anybody else has questions that you would like to ask, and I'll be happy to provide an answer to them, just like I did with this one. Just submit them in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. If it's worth making a video on, then I'll definitely do it. If you're concerned about nuclear war, then one thing I can do to help you get a little bit more prepared is I can save you $50 off of an EMP shield. If you just go to empshield.com, find the device that you need to protect your vehicle, your home, your ATV, your solar panels, your radios, whatever the case may be, and use the discount code Reality Survival when you check out. It'll save you $50 per unit whenever you check out. And right now, I think they're still running their Memorial Day sale, so you get an additional 10% off. So I don't know how long that's going to last, but check it out over at empshield.com, and that could actually save you some money. So anyhow, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys, again, got any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them down below. If you haven't subscribed, then please do that. Also, click the thumbs up button and the bell icon so you get notified anytime we shoot out a video. And last but not least, head over to realitysurvival.substack.com and join over there. That'll get you on the email list so that anytime I put out a video, I'll send you guys like a weekly update of all the videos that I put out. And you also have the opportunity to become a paid subscriber if you'd like. And doing that will get you in on the monthly giveaways of all different kinds of like EDC gear and all that kind of stuff. So check that out. It's only like $5 a month. I think I've got a discount going right now too if you sign up for the year. So anyway, that's it for me. Don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.